Gun trusts explained. The good and bad of trusts for firearms. Useful fact at the end. Welcome to today's deep dive into a crucial topic for firearm owners: gun trusts. Whether you've never heard of them or are considering one, this video will break down everything you need to know in simple terms so anyone can understand. Gun trusts are a powerful legal tool, but they can be a little confusing at first. We'll explain what they are, how they work, their pros and cons, and give you real-life examples of how they're used. And stay tuned until the end, because we're going to share a surprising and little-known fact about gun trusts that could make a huge difference in the future. Let's jump right in. Oh, and if you conceal carry, check us out at relaxedfittactical.com. Link below. What is a gun trust? First, let's start with the basics. What exactly is a gun trust? Think of it as a special legal container, like a treasure chest, where you store your firearms, especially firearms regulated by the National Firearms Act, or NFA for short. NFA firearms include things like silencers, short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, and even fully automatic weapons. These types of firearms are heavily regulated by the federal government. Owning and transferring them can be tricky, and failing to follow the rules can lead to serious legal trouble. A gun trust allows you to place those firearms into a legal structure that makes it easier to manage them during your lifetime and transfer them to others after your death. It also helps you and the people you trust stay compliant with federal laws. Why do people use gun trusts? Now, let's talk about the reasons people use gun trusts and what benefits they provide. 1. Avoid probate delays. Let's start with probate. Probate is the legal process where a court oversees the distribution of your belongings, like money, property, and firearms, after you pass away. This process can be long, expensive, and stressful for your loved ones. Without a gun trust, when you die, any firearms you own might have to go through probate. This could delay your family from legally taking possession of them. During this time, your firearms might be locked up or even confiscated by authorities. But with a gun trust, your firearms don't have to go through probate because the trust is its own legal entity. This means the trust continues to own the firearms even after you're gone. And the people you named in the trust, called beneficiaries, can take possession of the firearms without waiting for a judge to approve it. 2. Shared ownership and legal access. Have you ever wanted to share access to your firearms with someone you trust, like a family member or a close friend? Normally, you can't just let someone else use your NFA firearms. That's against the law. But if you set up a gun trust, you can name other people as trustees. Trustees are allowed to legally possess and use the firearms in the trust. For example, let's say you own a suppressor and you name your spouse as a co-trustee. Now, if you're not home, your spouse can still use the suppressor without breaking the law. Without a gun trust, this wouldn't be possible. 3. Simplified transfers upon death. Let's look at a real-world example. Imagine a man named Mike owns a collection of firearms, including an NFA-registered short-barreled rifle. When Mike passes away, his family wants to keep the firearms, but they're not sure how to legally take possession of them. Without a gun trust, the transfer process would involve filling out federal paperwork, waiting for ATF approval, and possibly paying additional transfer taxes. However, if Mike had put those firearms in a gun trust, the trust could automatically transfer ownership to his beneficiaries without any additional red tape. The beneficiaries would simply follow the instructions laid out in the trust document. 4. Prevent accidental felonies. Now, one of the biggest reasons people use gun trusts is to avoid accidentally breaking the law. Federal firearms laws are incredibly strict, and even an innocent mistake can lead to serious penalties. For example, if you let someone borrow your NFA firearm, even for just a day, you could face a felony charge. But if you name that person as a trustee in your gun trust, they can legally possess and use the firearm without any issues. What are the downsides of gun trusts? Of course, no legal tool is perfect. Here are some of the downsides to consider. 1. Upfront costs. Setting up a gun trust usually requires the help of a lawyer, especially one who specializes in firearms law. This can cost anywhere from $300 to $1,000 or more. While this might seem expensive, it's worth the investment to ensure the trust is set up correctly. 2. Complexity. Gun trusts can be complicated to manage. For example, you'll need to keep track of who is allowed to use the firearms in the trust, update the trust if laws change, and ensure all trustees are legally allowed to possess firearms. This requires some ongoing effort. 3. Subject to changing laws. Firearm laws are constantly evolving, and gun trusts are no exception. For example, in 2016, the ATF introduced a rule called Rule 41F. This rule requires all trustees to submit fingerprints and photographs when adding a new NFA item to the trust. Changes like this can make the process more time-consuming. Future legal changes to watch for. Speaking of changing laws, it's important to stay informed about potential future developments. Some lawmakers have proposed stricter regulations on gun trusts, including requiring more oversight or limiting their use altogether. On the other hand, some legal experts believe that gun trusts could become even more popular if new firearm bans are introduced. Why? Because firearms in a trust are owned by a legal entity, not an individual, which might make them harder to confiscate under certain laws. However, this is a gray area that would likely need to be resolved in court. Here's the part you've been waiting for. The surprising fact about gun trusts that many people don't know. Did you know that a gun trust can help protect your firearms if you're temporarily prohibited from owning them? For example, if you're going through a legal situation, like a restraining order or bankruptcy, that temporarily disqualifies you from owning firearms, a gun trust can serve as a safe place to store your firearms. The trust remains the legal owner, and the other trustees can maintain possession until your situation is resolved. This could be a lifesaver for responsible gun owners facing temporary setbacks. In summary, gun trusts are an incredibly valuable tool for firearm owners, offering benefits like avoiding probate delays, sharing access legally, and simplifying inheritance. But they come with responsibilities and require careful management. If you're serious about protecting your rights and your firearms, consider talking to a qualified attorney about setting up a gun trust. And remember, staying informed about current and future laws is the best way to protect yourself and your loved ones. If you're interested in concealed carry, follow us at relaxedfittactical.com. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs this information. Thanks for watching, and stay safe.